You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV Sleepy Hollow After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV Sleepy Hollow After Show.
Hey there, sleepyheads. Guess who's back? Oh, I'm so excited to be back. It's been so long since we've had an original Sleepy Hollow. We are talking about episode 106, The Sin Eater. I am Matt Lieberman. Joining me as always on the panel are the lovely and fantastic Miss Jacque Borowski.
Holla.
And the hilarious and talented Mr. Stephen Lemieux.
Oh, I'm so glad we're back.
I know, it's been too long. Those of you out there, you may have caught Stephen and I did an interview with Orlando Jones. We had a fantastic conversation with him. If you have not watched or listened to it, I highly recommend that you seek it out. However, it is not currently online. We had to pull it due to some technical issues. But if you follow us on Twitter, that is the first and only place you're going to be able to find out when it is back online for you to digest it. Also, you should be following all three of us on Twitter because that is the only way you can win the Pun Jar Sweepstakes. The Pun Jar Sweepstakes, which, thanks to the interview with Orlando, is now at $20 whole.
And 50 cents.
And 50 cents. 2050, which is just the base. We still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 episodes left in this season. We're getting into the big money, people. Let's kick it into high gear. You want to win well over $20? You need to follow the three of us on Twitter and be ready because we're going to be announcing how you win the Twitter sweepstakes, the Pun Jar Sweepstakes, in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. But now, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about The Sin Eater. Great episode, yes?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Is my mic on?
Yeah, it's on.
Oh.
Oh, it's on.
I can't hear myself, so I'm
The
like,
mic is on.
did I get muted today?
Oh, no. You did not get muted. We would never, ever mute you. I'm actually, one thing I'm looking for, and I apologize because it's distracting me a little bit. I want to find the ratings because we talked the last time we were here 3 weeks ago, and I laid out a challenge to all of you fans out there that we cannot let the ratings drop even by a little bit. So I'm going to find our ratings. But this episode, we got so much. We got confirmation that Ichabod and Abbie are in fact the two witnesses, which, like, we should never have doubted that.
Here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
I wonder, and I don't know, I can't remember now if it was a fan who brought this up, which I think it is. Or in the interview that you guys did, Orlando is like, you guys don't know what's going to happen, basically. Yeah. And so I'm wondering if Jenny and Abbie are the witnesses for this time period, and Ichabod was a witness in his time period, died, and is still a witness because he's technically still alive.
So you're pulling the Buffy the Vampire Slayer theory.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Yes, I am.
And
got nothing else, so that's what I'm pulling.
Well,
but a fan came up with it first, even though, yes, it is the Slayer theory.
Okay. Well,
I said that during the interview too, by the way.
Yes.
I said because we were talking about.
Oh, maybe it was you.
We were talking about the connections between the characters and the connections of Abbie and Ichabod and Abbie and Jenny, and I was like, okay, well, if Abbie is the Ichabod, Jenny is to who? And I was wondering who the second witness from the Revolutionary times is going to be, and I'm wondering if we're going to get that character anytime in the show.
Well,
maybe it's George Washington.
Maybe it was George Washington. Who knows?
So let's talk about the episode.
Yeah,
so
the ratings, it was a 2.5 in the demo. Good job, everybody. We maintained our ratings float, and there's probably gonna be way more DVR viewers, so I'm happy about that.
No thanks to baseball.
Yeah.
Which we opened the episode up with.
Yeah, which we opened, ironically, on a baseball game, and we had so much fun with Abbie and Ichabod at the game. Ichabod learning a bit more about the culture, and also, for just one afternoon, feeling like he's at home. And Abbie says, "You are home, Crane." And we all simultaneously swoon.
True. Although, did anybody else think it was weird to see, because they are always doing night scenes?
Yeah, to
Think
see
it
them
was
out in the
weird to see
daytime.
them out in the daytime. I'm like, Jackie, they're not vampires, but it is weird to see them in the daylight.
It's completely off topic, but I saw this movie, FDR, American Badass, on Netflix today. It's really terrible, and there's a werewolf attack in the middle of the day.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
That
Anyway,
is off topic.
it is incredibly off topic. It's a terrible
So
movie.
like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
Yeah, but really, really bad. So they're enjoying this baseball game when Ichabod is Ichabod napped. He's visiting Katrina's
can we
grave.
list, though, the reasons she likes baseball? Because I paused and wrote it down.
Please talk about it.
She likes baseball because it's traditional and it's safe and you can count on everything to be the same. She likes it because it has teamwork. And she also likes it because it's a sport that does not discriminate. And I felt like this was like a comment on the show, or
It's
on
a bit of a
Abbie
mission
as
statement.
well. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a mission statement for the show.
I agree. You know, it's ultimately a procedural in a sense, you know, so it's sticking by the rules of the buddy cop show, but at the same time, it's got an amazing, talented, diverse cast. We're pulling from all different types of genres and tropes and stories and legends from over the course of the years, and it's also fun. And it's something that's steeped in history, and I think will ultimately go down in history as an iconic television series.
I mean, they brought the Boston Tea Party into it. You can't steep into history much more than that.
Oh, Punjar.
Oh, geez, yeah, Punjar.
21.
I'm going on that.
Oh, you suck. Steep. You.
Steve just wants to throw away his money.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
No, he wants to throw away my money.
A third of both of your money.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Ugh.
It's a collective throwing away of money.
Collective
Am I the
throwing.
only person here that is conservative as far as the punch-on chart?
I mean, no. I mean, I think I'm between the two of you. He's like way out there.
yeah, we have to have a spectrum.
Yeah. But he gets kidnapped, and we also, Abbie she gets sucked into this nether realm.
I wrote creepy old house dream.
Creepy old house dream while she's driving, which
P.S. Yeah, Katrina. Dangerous.
way unsafe.
Dangerous.
Way unsafe.
Can I-
Okay.
She's trying to kill the competition.
Did anyone else kind of get kind of weirded out by the fact that this is the first time Ichabod's gone off on his own, and he says, I think I have kind of the lay of the land. I mean, couldn't he have just looked at a map and had the lay of the land? He has the photographic memory.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but that's no. Shut up.
But isn't he from? No, he's not from.
He's not
Sleepy
from
Hollow.
Sleepy
He's not, but I was just thinking, I was like, you think she would have let him, like, drive more? I guess putting him behind the wheel of a mechanical beast is kind of...
It's new for him. He
would
he
be
doesn't
new.
have his license. He doesn't have his license. He's still got to get his license.
That's
okay?
true.
That's a future episode.
He doesn't have the revolutionary chariot license.
Episode 12. Ichabod learns how to drive
Yeah.
while being chased by demons.
Okay, now it's
Don't
really going
discount
Buffy.
it because it'll totally happen. And then he uses the car to help. It's a whole thing.
So we see a few things in this creepy haunted house of
Yes.
mystery Katrina style.
Couple of weird dolls. One of which looked like, to me, a black Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants. Super creepy with a sewn-up mouth. And Steven noticed, so there was this George Washington doll, but Steven, you noticed something interesting about it.
It's hanging by a noose. It's because I noticed it because you see the normal rope around it, but then you see a clump of ropes around it like it's been hung
Yeah.
like a noose. And this kind of worries me. You know why? Is because we find out later in the episode, everyone who's watched this episode, I'm assuming, is listening to the podcast after having watched this
Yes,
episode.
yes,
we are an
we have
after
to
show,
assume
not a
that.
before show, and it is Tuesday, so
Not
we had
a
a day.
pre-premonition spoilery
Yeah,
show.
you're not spoiling anything, Steven. Continue.
So we find out that George Washington was a Mason. Of course, everyone knows that, and we find out that the Masons were kind of the U.S. Army's version of the Good Coven in a way. Like there's the
Yeah.
Good Covenant,
Yeah.
and then there's the U.S. Army, which are the Masons. Those people who are fighting the demons are the Masons. Katrina is saving Ichabod by hiding his body from the Masons. But there's a time after Ichabod is put to sleep that things are still going on.
Sure, and
So-
she was burned at the stake, I think, by the Masons.
So what you got to realize is that she may be Team Ichabod, but she is definitely not Team Masons. And she's definitely not for the good. She's more good coven and Team Ichabod than she is for anything else. So we see
I'm
this,
still not convinced she's good coven.
but we see this doll of George Washington, and that's their house. Like, that's their house. That's their house after Ichabod was put in the ground. So, like, these are things that were probably really in the house after Ichabod was
Yeah.
put in the ground. So that was her doll.
Yeah.
And then you also see this child carriage that has, like, a black doll.
Baby carriage, yeah.
And what that makes me think is that she was perhaps, I don't know, like, maybe she was pregnant
And miscarried.
miscarried
Yeah.
due to a demon's influence or something like that. And
It's
that was
entirely
representing
possible.
the
Yeah.
demon.
Entirely
agree with
possible. I want to go back to your point about good coven versus bad coven. Her coven is mentioned. They didn't say if it was the positive coven or not. The Masons mentioned that, you know, her coven had secreted you away, and, you know, we've been tricked before and stuff like that. We're talking about later in the episode when Ichabod realizes that he's been kidnapped by the Masons, and James Frayne, who has been on True Blood and a bunch of other things, was James
I think he was
Rutledge.
on Grimm, too.
Yeah, I think he was on Grimm. He's been in a few things. He's around, you know. And I can't help but think that it is good coven because of the relationship with Albert, and how that steered him into, you know, sanctifying his soul and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
that's
I
true.
feel like it's way too convoluted of a game to play. Like, unless Katrina reached out to Abbie to try to unhook Ichabod from the Horseman so that he couldn't kill himself and kill the Horseman, which, like, the more that I'm saying it, I'm like, that could be a thing. I feel like this week kind of put the final nail in the coffin of, like, the Katrina is evil theory. I'm sure that there are things about her and about her life after Ichabod was put to sleep that we don't know about, and things about her before they even met that we don't know about. But my suspicions are abating, personally.
I want
Steven
to be careful how I respond to this.
I'm curious. Tell me.
Oh,
Tell me what you're thinking.
I'm gonna tell you, Matt.
Somebody's shipping you guys on the internet.
Wait,
so
what?
Wait,
This
what,
is really
really?
cute. Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh my
I forgot
God.
what the name is. Like Schmabby? No, that's it.
What?
Matt-
Neither of us is Abbie.
You can
I
be
don't
Abbie,
remember
Matt.
what it was.
Steve at?
Steve at? I don't. You guys have
Stat?
to look in the comments. I don't
Meven?
remember. Stat was
Oh my
one of them, I
God.
think.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
I missed these comments.
Which is why this is really cute for me. Looking
Oh,
at it.
Lord.
I hate that you just put that in our minds.
Is
Jackie.
there fan
Sorry.
art?
And we were gonna go to West Hollywood.
We were talking about going to West Hollywood for drinks. Is there Steve and Matt fan art?
Please
I'm gonna
tell me
draw
there
it.
This is a rabbit hole we're not going to go down. Let's fill it with dirt and tamp it on the top and keep talking about Sleepy Hollow.
Oh my God.
I love our fans.
Okay,
You,
so
you weirdos.
I think Katrina is good and bad, because I think Katrina, because the Masons have the record of Ichabod Crane that's written by Katrina.
Yeah.
I think she is good to the point of Ichabod.
Yes.
But I think
agree with that.
everything past then, she is kind of probably vengeful God. She's probably vengeful Katrina. She's probably got her own things, and she may even be connected to Moloch in more
But
ways.
she's
than
a
we know.
Quaker. Quakers are against violence.
She was a Quaker when Ichabod met her. I mean, that's the thing, and that's what I really. I mean, I want you to look at this. They use lots of visualization to show ideas and how things are progressing. When you meet Katrina, she's wearing a white veil and she's wearing a white dress and she's a Quaker.
It's her Quaker garb, yeah.
Yes. Now, whenever you see her,
She's in like the dark red dress and the boobies are showing.
she's in the dark red dress. She's a little bit more promiscuous, but especially so in this episode when it's Abbie talking to her. She's like in all black. Like when Ichabod sees her, she's got red and
But
black
it's
and blue.
because she's dead,
But do you-
guys.
well, I mean,
Do you see Corbin in black when he's dead? No.
Well, no, because he's.
Dude, she's got her dead wardrobe, and she gets dressed for certain situations.
What if you die when you're dead, when you're a spirit, right? What if
you become
show up,
sexier?
Yeah, what if you become sexier, Steven? No, I think whatever you died in is what you wear in the nether realm, in purgatory, whatever.
Beetlejuice rules.
Maybe she wasn't evil. Maybe she, God forbid, started hooking to survive or became a barmaid.
Matt, can you look at my face right now?
Can the audience look at your face right now?
My brain.
Did you switch the camera to you?
I did.
Okay. Great.
You know what this face means?
You can switch it back to me now.
It's kind of a face that needs a face palm, but I'm not going to face palm it.
Oh, jeez.
I'm just making the biggest shit-eating grin right now.
Oh my gosh.
So pleased with myself. Look, okay, granted, we all disagree about...
Sorry. You had the biggest sin-eating grin on your face.
Punjar.
Okay, that is Punjar.
Yeah.
That is Punjar.
So that's 2150. That was good, though.
That was
I
good.
appreciate that
Yeah,
one.
that
That
was a good
one I
one.
liked. All right, so
It's
Katrina...
not that I actually think I think I'm somewhere in between you guys.
Okay.
Because I think she's you have me now convinced that she's maybe not bad Coven, but at the same time I'm like, there is something fishy about that. Like what Steve points out, they dress people, and you don't have a show where people put on very elaborate makeup and then not have them like think about the clothing they're wearing. I feel like that's done purposefully.
Yeah.
Well, it's also that he's connected to the Horseman.
Yes.
You would think that she would understand that he has to kill himself to kill the Horseman. I mean, that's the thing. That's the one way to prevent the apocalypse.
Didn't she? Oh no, she bound him because
She bound him
himself.
to save his
Okay,
life,
yeah.
but they didn't know at that time that it would. I don't know, or something like that.
No. I don't think she knew she was binding him to the Horseman,
Yeah, it was
and
a
that their
curse.
blood mixed. It was a curse. Yeah.
And I believe that she's like, we all kind of think she's dead at the moment.
Yeah,
So,
dead-ish.
Wouldn't it be better for Ichabod? I mean, he even says in the episode, he's like, I've stayed on this realm longer than any mortal man would have. He's had more chances. He's had more time than he should have. You'd think that they could be together after he passes. I guess even though Moloch's holding him, which is the bad thing. But if they defeated death, wouldn't Moloch technically be defeated in a way too?
She loves him so much.
She does. She really.
She
I think
loves-
she loves him.
she-
Is
does not-
Katrina shipping Ichabod?
No, she's not shipping Ichabod. She's just shipping plain Ichabod. She wants him to have the full life, but she knows that he will find a way to get her out of purgatory. So listen, as much as we got some great Ichabod fodder this week,
Oh my gosh,
the fans were frothing.
Yes. This
you know.
was an Ichabod shipper
Oh my God!
episode.
It was a shipper's dream.
Yes, it was
she
a
was
shipper's
in
dream.
tears nearly over him dying, and like they got that beautiful scene
They
together,
got a
like
hug,
in all
and
of
they touch hands.
in all of history for the two of us
and
to
he
come
bows
together.
her at the baseball game.
And
Yeah.
he calls her Abbie.
He calls her
calls
Abbie
her
for the
Abbie,
first time.
yes.
And as soon as he said it, I'm like, he called her Abbie for the first time. And then she says, "You've never called me Abbie before." And then I was just, But
And
no,
then she's crying, and she's like, "I'll never let you go, Jacque.
yeah, no, different,
something like that. though.
different
very
story in
similar.
a different medium. But
It was very similar.
even
to
though there
that.
was a lot of fodder this week, I still think that he and Katrina are going to get back together somehow. I think it's going to happen.
They have to create a love triangle. Though,
yeah,
so
they
I
have to like
understand
build that romantic tension.
Even if I'm not interested in the other portion of the love
I
triangle.
know.
Well, what's interesting is, and as you'll find out in the next few days when we release the Orlando interview again,
Re-release.
Re-release.
release it in premium HD, the Blu-ray edition. No, you're gonna. He says that there's a lot of things like we're gonna find out a lot about Headless this season.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna find out a lot about Katrina. So I think she's gonna be around for a long time. We're probably gonna find out some more dramatic irony about Katrina, like things that we know that
Yeah.
Abbie and Ichabod won't know. And also, it's just he said it, like there's no way we're ever gonna guess
What's
what it is,
happening?
what's gonna happen.
Well, you're kind of paraphrasing what he said, because what he said was, first of all, he said everyone is connected, everyone is connected. We just don't know how yet, but that we don't know a lot about our main characters, and we're going to find out more this season about Ichabod, more about Abbie, more about Jenny, more about Headless, more about Katrina.
And we're seeing pieces of that. I mean, we learned that Jenny was connected to Corbin, and then now we know for sure. I mean, we guessed it, but we know for sure that Ichabod is a Mason, which ties him to George Washington. We know Katrina is tied to the Masons for giving them the book,
and that the Masons very well may have killed her.
Yeah.
You know, and that there's been, we got kind of like a little sample of what's been going on in this war while Ichabod's been in the ground. And that Headless is back and he's going to wreak all kinds of vengeance next week. And that's all very, very exciting. We have so much more to talk about. I just want to talk really quickly about
iTunes.
About iTunes. Guys, thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments on the YouTube, reviews on the iTunes. It makes us happy because we know that we have a great audience who loves talking with us about our favorite show. And your 5-star ratings on iTunes keep us searchable in the rankings. Let our bosses know that we're doing a fantastic job. So if you love our show, show us a little support. Hit us up on the iTunes, slap us with a 5-star rating. We try to respond to every single comment on YouTube. It's a mammoth undertaking. Jacque and I spend the majority of our Wednesday huddled in front of our computers replying to stuff because we love you guys and we want to continue to do that. So those of you who haven't already joined in the conversation, do so. The last episode, I think, has like 300-something comments. Something crazy like that. I've never seen that for an after show, so that makes me super happy. Join in on the conversation. And if you don't have YouTube or iTunes for some reason, you want to tell our bosses how much you like the show, you can email AfterBuzzTV at info@AfterBuzzTV.com. Subject line reads maybe Sleepy Hollow kicks major butt. is a good one, and let our bosses know how much you love our show. It helps us
I want to
out.
give some shout outs. There's expat Sleepyhead who is from
Abu
Dhabi.
Dhabi.
That
Abu
was
Dhabi.
awesome.
You
so
rule.
cool. There was a comment from some fan named Lady Arya Stark. Love your name.
Sweet.
Thought that was awesome.
One of my fave
I know.
GOT characters.
And then one of the comments said Abbie and Ichabod have a connection because they have the same hair. And I was watching them at the baseball game, and I was like, they do kind of have the same hair.
they both had it pulled back?
Well, no, they didn't have the same, like, her hair was down and his was back, but, like, you can see how they've dyed his hair brown. That's kind of a color that's matching hers.
It's such a weird thing to point out, but I love the attention to detail. Go you.
Yeah.
And I want to give a couple of shout outs. Stephen B3, things learned on tonight's Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod is a grim. Hoping for a show crossover.
That would be awesome. I love that.
I appreciate the enthusiasm. Eric Olin, at Eric Olin on Twitter, who he was looking for a retweet, but I'm giving you a shout out too, because you rule, and someone should follow him on Twitter because he needs more followers. Sleepy Hollow Source, S Hollow Source on Twitter.
Oh, they always tweet us. It's awesome.
Sending us out to all their folks. And who else we got? We got lots of folks. But anyone who's watching this show, who's talking to us, we love you.
Exactly. We have 67 ratings on iTunes.
Holy Jesus cow!
And I want to say, that's the most for a show in how long this show has been on. And
6 episodes?
we were gone for three weeks straight.
Three solid weeks.
3 solid weeks without a Sleepy Hollow after show. And we dropped off the top 10 for 1 day.
For 1 day.
That's it. And the
You guys
next
are
day we were back
awesome.
up to number 6,
Yeah.
number 5. Like tomorrow we're going to be number 1 for the next 3 days.
We
I mean,
better
Yeah.
be.
So,
Yeah. So you have our formal thanks. Have some virtual cake. Enjoy a virtual pat on the back.
And if you win the Punjar, you get actual money.
you get actual cash.
Let's go back to the show because people are probably sick of us
I know.
ranting.
Sorry, guys. We like to have fun. Okay, so Abbie and Jenny, she busts out. Goes to Irving, and they have this conversation, which totally is informed
God.
by the interview with Orlando, where he's like, "I'm the guy who's gonna keep his skin." I want 2 things I want to hold on to: my virginity
Am I skipped
skepticism. Since I obviously lost the first one a long time ago, I'm going to hold on to the second one.
That was one of the best lines. I was like, Orlando, ha ha ha.
Yeah, Orlando rules. And he was great in this episode, even if it was for just one quick scene. And he allows Abbie to take Jenny out of the asylum for a day. Queen for a day.
Is that a thing?
A furlough?
Yeah. For asylums, though?
It's just, and I just honestly, started watching Fringe 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, what's his name?
John Noble.
John Noble we see in this episode. I'm so glad I saw Fringe before seeing this episode because I'm like,
she's already escaped and she seems kind of dangerous.
In Fringe, John Noble's crazy and he's kind of dangerous, but because it's a relative that pulls him out, they're allowed to pull him out of the asylum. So it's kind of the same little concept going on right here.
Yeah.
Got it.
And we'll get to John Noble in a second, who is
she's
a rock star.
She's obviously not crazy. They just think she's crazy.
And she's committed crimes, and like instead of going to prison,
I was saying that more because she has stolen things and
but she was given a 24-hour leave of absence. And Abbie quickly gets her on her side after some initial distrust. And she poses to Abbie. She's like, you really care about him, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And Abbie realizes for the first time just how much he matters to her.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, yeah. And he matters to you, too. And for a hot second, I was like, love square, love rectangle?
Yes.
Because they had some chemistry.
They do.
He and Lindy, man, they got chemistry. So that might be coming down the pike as well.
I loved her speech, though. Her speech about the pieces of the rug that doesn't fit.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's saying that she's a misfit and Jenny are misfits, and they stuck to each other because they're misfits. And I feel like that's what attracts her so much to Crane and to a lot of the other characters in her world. Corbin, if you think about it, the more we know about him, the more he too is kind of a misfit.
He is. I mean, he was kind of a lone crusader, thinking about all these weird happenings. He wasn't necessarily a member of Good Coven. He very well may have just been doing all this stuff on his own. And Jenny and Abbie are figuring this stuff out. Just like Abbie doesn't have a lot of connections in her life. She has very few people that she can say that she counts on or that she cares about. You know, her ex-boyfriend, Officer Morales, is not one of those leftover remnants of the carpet. I don't know that he ever really understood her.
He's nowhere near the carpet. He's a piece of wood.
Yeah.
Far away from the carpet.
Yeah.
That's deep.
He's a piece of wood lodged in the ceiling. That's how far away he is from the carpet on the floor.
Ceiling wood.
Yeah.
He's not even the log that keeps the fire going. He's just some tinder that started it.
Oh.
Okay.
What?
I don't even know how that made sense. We were just
I'm
talking
gonna call
about
Punjar on that, even though it's not
we
a
were
pun.
just talking about wood, and I just got
seconding
into it.
Well,
Damn it.
I'll second it, Punjar.
Okay, there we go.
guys are
22
ridiculous.
bucks.
Okay, so I want to let's rush through this real quick.
Yeah.
Because I want to get to Ichabod and Edward and the
whole flashback.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jenny and Abbie, they discover that he's been going to these. The Sin Eater Jenny had investigated him before, and he disappeared after a while. But he would go to these prisons, and he would absolve the people. He would sanctify the death row inmates, and their last words were always, "I am sanctified."
Yeah.
They discover that he's using a fake name from a deceased inmate to travel places, and the last inmate was a guy who never turned up anywhere else. So they assume he's under that same identity. They find him. He's in Hartford, Connecticut. Hooray.
Yep.
Henry Parrish.
And they get
Henry Parrish is his real name.
Henry Parrish is his real name. They figure out who he is. They get inside his meticulously clean apartment.
With lots of plants.
He's just trying to lead a quiet life. He's full of sin. You know what? Like he's eaten enough sin for one lifetime.
What I want to know, and I'm sure the show will eventually tell us, is how someone gets this job. Are you born being a sin eater? Do you become a sin eater?
They said there's one person in every culture which it's given to.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's chosen. I don't think it's a choice. And even he didn't know. He said, I didn't know why I was given this until now.
Yeah.
And he has to carry all this burden. It sucks so much.
And there's this connection between him and Ichabod when we see Ichabod's ability to witness evil in the flashback is also something that only comes along once in a generation. Only comes along once in a generation. You know, someone is chosen for this. It's a gift and a curse to be able to see these things. And for the Sin Eater to be able to hold such sin inside of him and have kind of some medium-esque abilities.
I worry, though, because we did see that we get John for 3 episodes or something like that.
When he originally signed on for the show, he signed on for 3 episodes. So, yeah, I'm concerned that he dies. I want him on permanently.
No, you don't.
Why?
And I'll tell you why. There's watching this, I really got the feel from Green Mile, John Coffey, where John Coffey was basically a sin eater. He would sanctify the sins out of people. I guess really was more a physical thing, like the ailments as opposed to the sins themselves. But the premise is kind of the same. But what he says when they first meet him is, I came to a point where if I did it anymore, I would no longer be myself. I would lose myself. So it really feels like the things that he takes upon himself devour his own soul.
Yeah.
And devouring a sin from
it's a heavy
death,
burden.
devouring death itself. How is his character's soul going to deal with that? And how can he be manipulated? I mean, especially in that scene after he, takes the bread and dips it in the
blood.
The balsamic
He literally
vinegar.
ate sin.
Yeah, in the oil and vinegar. You're slaying me with how good your point is, and I'm so upset because
He's going to be influenced by death. And just remember, Ichabod was the one who could sense when death was back alive.
That's true.
And now, what is it that John Noble says? As soon as he consumes it, the sun has fallen. Death is alive. He could feel it. He now had the ability to feel it because he had consumed Ichabod's connection with death. So we're going to have to see the death of John Noble because he has the connection now.
Oh, wait, so you think he's now linked to death in the way that Ichabod was?
He has to be.
Yeah, he has to be.
I don't know.
I believe, Steven.
I don't think it's the same. I don't think it's the same at all. He sensed him the same way that he sensed that Ichabod was down in the tunnel, in the Freemason tunnel. I don't think that it means that he has the same link, the same curse that that Ichabod had. Here's what I think.
Well, Scully, the truth's in front of us. We just have to put the pieces together.
Oh, shut your mouth! No, I don't think that it's that. Because then just kill the sin eater, and then death is done. I feel like that's too simple. It's too easy. Because then how do you sanctify the sin eater if you don't have another sin eater?
I don't think it's that, but I feel it's more that you can get to death through the sin eater now that they're connected. I honestly didn't believe that if they killed Ichabod, it would have killed death. I don't believe that. I believe it would have weakened it because the bond is bringing them both up because of the spell to keep Ichabod alive. But he felt things. He was like, he'll come after you now. Death's alive. He's coming after you now. And remember that death could find Ichabod before without having to track him at all.
Right. And now he's tracking
him. He has no connection to him anymore. So you got to think that that's got to be either John Noble's got some connection to death, or if he doesn't, it's still going to affect his soul.
Okay.
I'm sure it's going to affect
his soul has definitely been shredded.
Can we just brief aside? I love how they find him by looking through weird blogs.
Yeah. I've been checking out weird blogs for generations. Yeah.
I love that. I want to find people by looking through weird blogs.
That's how you guys found me, right?
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
You found me through weird blogs. That's not the truth.
Weirdblogs.blogspot.com.
Weirdblogs.blogspot.com. It's a blog about weird blogs.
I don't actually know who we're like giving a shout out to right now.
I hope it's real.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope it's real.
Yeah.
If not, we're buying it right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's really what happened with the Sin Eater and with everything. We'll see him again, but can we go in? Well,
please.
What were you gonna say,
no,
Matt?
I was gonna say I think it's time that we delve into
the Masons.
The Masons
Yes.
and Ichabod's checkered past.
Does anybody realize though? Do you guys watch Sherlock?
Yes.
He's very the scene where he's kind of like looking around the room and realizing things. He's like, this is the this.
Very
and
Sherlock Holmes. He looked at the cufflinks and he's like, "You're James Rutledge.
Yeah.
You have a resemblance to your ancestor Edward Rutledge, who was the youngest signer of the whatever.
Signatory
of the Declaration of Independence." And Stephen actually looked it up, and he actually has a passing resemblance to him.
He has a passing resemblance. Let me see if I can.
Nice.
I guess
pull it up on the screen.
You can only see a little bit of it because of the picture. I forgot to do that. But the interesting thing about Edward Rutledge is he was the youngest signer. And it's great that the show goes so deep into it because there's so many things with all these people from the Revolutionary War.
I love the revolutionary stuff. I just love it.
It's just there's so many things that are so open-ended because not everyone understood medicine back then. Not everyone understood things. And you can read quotes, and we'll get into Cicero in a second as well.
Yeah.
That if you view words as people as opposed to words, they have a completely different meaning, and that's really what the show likes to play on. Like any show that says death, like if you think of death as a person as opposed to a word, it becomes 10 times more profound,
Right.
10 times different. So Edward Rutledge, he actually served in the state. The British people, I mean, the British government arrested him for a while and everything, but he came back, he did all this stuff. Before the end of the term, he died from an apoplexy resulting from hearing the news of George Washington's death.
Apoplexy.
Apoplexy. So
Isn't that when you're like heart?
it's like a stroke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what this makes me think, and if the show like wants to play on this, George Washington's still alive after Ichabod's put underground, things like that. But if there's a pact that when George Washington dies, there may be something that they have to rid themselves, otherwise the information be leaked, or something like that. Like in case there, like if there's a pact in place that they'll find that if when George Washington dies, all these Freemasons must
Off themselves.
Have to
Kill
off
themselves
themselves
to protect some kind
to
of
protect
secret.
the
I
information.
could see that.
'Cause, I
could
mean,
definitely see that.
That's just one of the things I was reading, and I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. Hearing upon the news of George Washington's death, that sounds kind of like if writers wanted to spin it, he finds out, takes a pill, and is like, okay, this has to be done now.
Right. It's entirely possible. There's a lot that we don't know, and this all just goes back to what Orlando said, and it's so true. There's just so much we don't know about the world of this show, and it speaks to the quality of the writing that we are this drawn into the world and the struggle and our characters when there's still so much that we don't know. So many holes that need to be filled. We honestly have less ground than we do holes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's a mystery,
It's
and
a
that's part
huge
of
mystery.
and that's part of why it's so fun. It's like you're watching to uncover the mystery.
Right. And we got a lot of ground covered in this episode where Ichabod has to prove his identity to the Masons, and he does so by telling the story of Albert, who is this freedman.
You mean
Arthur Bernard.
Bernard.
Arthur, sorry, my mistake. Arthur Bernard, a freedman who, while Ichabod was working for the British government, he was supposed to break. This guy was a traitor. He was making these pamphlets about revolution and that we should break away from the British government. And we see that Ichabod wasn't always a good guy. You know, I mean, he was just following orders, but he tortured this guy for days after meeting Katrina and swooning almost immediately. He sensed a connection.
He does what a lot of people do in war, which is when you're fighting for one side and you're fighting for a cause, in your head, you have to think, okay, I'm doing this as a means to an end. This makes it right. And then he gets into the situation and he realizes this is a person and how not right it is. And I think that was Katrina's point when she said, she said something to the effect of like, I can see the empathy or the compassion in your eyes. You don't really believe this, or you're not really behind it. And
it's called a conscience.
yeah, it's you get into that situation and you stop being part of a big machine that you are a cog in and realize, okay, maybe what I'm doing isn't right.
Yeah. And his boss, he's a lieutenant, first of all.
I know, I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Which makes every time that he says lieutenant, which now it looks like he's going to be saying Abbie instead of lieutenant.
Heyo.
Yeah.
They're
But
further connected by their hair and rank.
by their rank. They are the same rank. Oh, yeah. So it's not weird.
Which also, I mean, it shows that he's saying her rank out of respect.
Because he knows what it means.
Because he knows what it means.
His boss is played by the guy who played Cutler in the second and third Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This episode was
I didn't
packed with
recognize that.
cameos.
Huh.
The evil demon dude was actually in the second and third Pirates movies as like the main, kind of like, not main antagonist, but one of them from the British government. And Ichabod's just caught between a rock and a hard place. He's trying to do his duty, but he knows that it's wrong. He's seeing these public hangings. Katrina is comforting this poor boy who's just lost his father, and he's trying to make it right, but he's caught between a rock and a hard place. By the time that he finally tries to free this guy, you know, it's too late, and his boss kills him, and he's been carrying this guilt all these years.
Because he feels he didn't act quickly enough.
Yeah. And it was that moment that set all of this in motion. This guy basically sacrificed himself.
What were his last words? They were order from chaos?
Yeah.
No, his last words were, we are all Cicero. Cicero is all of us.
Ah.
Like,
Yeah, and then he told him to say order from chaos, order abkeo to Katrina. She'll know what it means. And then from then on, he joined the revolution and became a good guy, and he got the girl.
And he also told him that the love of power is the demon of all men. So he says a lot of things that are just total revolutionary ideas,
and that are weighty with subtext.
Yeah,
because the love of power is the demon of all men or the evil of all men.
I wrote demon, but
the demon of all men.
That's right.
I'm wondering if that's alluding to Moloch or to the fact that anyone can be corrupted by the evil coven, not to trust anybody. There's something in those words that I think is very resonant in this series and the larger game plan of the world here.
Well, he also says, if you pull that trigger, you'll never lay witness to the things you would have seen otherwise. Like, he never would have understood. And he is...
You think he knew he was a witness?
Yeah, I think they all believed he was a witness. And that's when he knew...
Well, that's why Katrina was like, you are the one.
Yeah, but...
Matrix.
He is the salvation in the way that if he hadn't been shot, Ichabod would have still had his doubts. Because... seeing a flash of someone's face looking like a demon is not enough. Seeing a man turn into a demon in front of you and throw you 50 feet, that's another thing in believing altogether.
And how crazy was that? I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that guy to turn into a demon.
Well, they referenced it earlier in the episode, and Matt didn't believe me, but then he saw that, and I was like,
I do remember that, but I didn't expect him to go... like full on.
What didn't I believe you about?
The shapeshifters, that they mentioned shapeshifters.
Okay, there's a difference to me between demons and shapeshifters. Okay, this
my God.
No, this guy had one human costume, and I'm not sure if he takes other forms. You're reading too much into the line about we've been fooled before. Okay, so earlier in the episode, when the Masons sit Ichabod down, they don't believe that he's him, and he has to prove it. And they say, we've been fooled before, we've gotten our hopes up before, and we've had them dashed. Stephen took that to mean that demons and shapeshifters have tried taking the form of Ichabod to infiltrate their ranks. I disagree. I think that they have thought that they found Ichabod's resting place, or someone who had amnesia, who was British, and they thought it might be Ichabod, that he might be the witness. I don't think that there were shapeshifters actively trying to subvert that campaign. I just think that they've had a lot of failures on the finding Ichabod front.
Do you think the Freemasons are the ones who sent Irving to the station? Because they made the call that there was this guy who believes he was Ichabod Crane from British time, from the Revolutionary times.
I'm beginning to think
like
maybe he's a Freemason.
And
yeah, I agree.
That's possible.
If Frank's a Freemason, he might not know everything. He might not know about the supernatural. There are people out in the world right now that are Freemasons, and it's just
that aren't in the inner circle.
Right.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, I do think it was Freemasons who called Morales from Oxford, saying that Ichabod was a tenured professor there, and that his partner might be a Freemason.
I think
instead of a member of Good Coven.
I think his partner is from Good Coven simply because when Steve said that to Orlando, he was like, "Oh, that's a good idea."
Yeah, that's a good guess.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
But he also said everything we say will always be wrong.
Well, he's got to say that because he's not allowed to give us anything.
I really do think though that he's probably because if you think about Freemasons, a lot of them were in high power positions. I don't think a lower police officer would be a Freemason. I could see where Irving would be because he's in a position of power.
Right. I don't know.
And I think that it would make sense too because he's pulling strings. He seems to have a great ability to pull strings.
I know, but just based on what Orlando said about his character, and that, you know, accepting the supernatural would be a stretch, and that he was sent there to handle the situation. Just the way that he was talking to me makes me feel that Frank doesn't have a past steeped in this war.
No, he doesn't have a past steeped in that war. We're saying he could be a Freemason, just not.
The Freemasons are steeped in that war, even if they didn't give him all the information.
Not all of them.
No. They're Matt, there's Freemasons
that exist that are
there's
not
Freemasons
connected.
that are just like,
I know. I have a friend who's a Mason.
Is he a Freemason or is he a $2.99 Mason? Like, what's the deal here?
Punjar. What is that? 2250. 2250.
Okay, I just wanted you to stop talking.
Wow.
I just wanted to shut you up.
Now I know where respect for me falls on the important scale of Mr. Stephen Lemieux. Our shippers are gonna be furious.
Break up. Break up.
That's the first time we've gotten in a fight, Matt.
That is a lie. That is a huge effing lie.
So I want to talk about Arthur Bernard, because there wasn't a
loved that actor.
Yeah, he was great. So the real person who they're playing that actor as is Charles Carroll of Carrollton, who was a author basically.
Charles Carroll, who hung the lantern in the tower for
One If by Land, Two If
for
by
Paul
Sea.
Revere's Ride.
I think so. I think it's the same guy.
It would make sense because the next episode is Paul Revere, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when he says we're all Cicero, I believe because Cicero was the Greek like physiologist and things. So when he says we are all Cicero, it's like we are all believers in this philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mean physiologist. I meant philosopher.
Right. Yeah. That's completely different.
Yeah, it is. So Carroll was a powerful. This is from Wikipedia, guys. Sorry, I'm reading it off my phone. He is a powerful voice for the independents. He engaged in debate conducted through anonymous newspaper letters, maintaining the right of colonists to control their own taxation, and he went under a pseudonym of First Citizen. So this was like where the false name was coming from. Like it was somebody else. They didn't know who this guy was. That's where we're getting the who is Cicero in this episode. Also, I wanted to say, earlier I talked about looking at things in the lines of as if death is a person and not as, or death is war is a person and not as a thing.
Yeah.
One of these quotes is, "Peace is liberty and tranquility. Servitude is the worst of all evils to be resisted not only by war but even by death." So servitude resisted by death kind of goes into the whole Moloch thing, and Moloch is trying to control death to raise the horsemen and kind of things like that. So that was kind of an interesting
I
quote
think
to me.
this series, though, in general, anthropomorphizes. Is that a correct usage of
Yes.
it? Anthropomorphizes. I think
Just make your point. No, it's just
makes things anthropomorphic.
No. Just go. I'm being overly critical. No, just to anthropomorphize something is to give it a body and to give it into like if an animal is anthropomorphized, it walks like a person and talks like a person. That's anthropomorphized.
Rant much?
No, it's not a rant. I could go on a rant, but we don't have time. The show is running long.
Okay, so not anthropomorphizes, but I think that it takes things that are not meant to be literal and makes them literal.
Okay.
And I think that's the beauty of the show. It makes things that are ideas, written word ideas, and it turns them into real things. A lot of what's in Revelations, a lot of what's in the Bible in general is supposed to be allegory, and they're speaking Bible words to each other in one scene in this episode, making them very real.
Yeah.
And I
making
think,
the figurative literal.
Yeah, making the figurative literal. That's what I meant to say.
I know.
Thank you.
Yes. So it anthropomorphized it.
Anthropomorphized. We're not gonna do this. Okay, I think it's time that we get into predictions.
All right, let's get into predictions.
It's a long show. That's what I just said.
Yeah, but I repeated what you said to give it more power.
Yeah.
Because if we both say it, it counts.
Steven's trying to make me irrelevant to this process, and I don't appreciate it.
I'm just trying to infuriate you slightly.
Ugh, the tension is just thick. Anyway.
Don't lose your head.
I predict that lots of things are going
bucks,
to
you
be
dick.
anthropomorphized
Next week.
Next week,
Death comes to Sleepy Hollow.
dressed as a cat turns into a person.
John Cho's back. John Cho's back next week. and Abbie totally spits in his face.
Yeah.
Which is rad, and I'm totally excited for that. I'm wondering what happened to Headless's assault rifle. Frank comes face.
He lost it when he took a nap in the water.
Right. Frank comes face to face with the Horseman and his own belief. I'm hoping Sin Eater is still around. I don't know if it's going to be next week or if it's going to be a couple weeks from now. Who knows? Steven.
I'm gonna prophesize some things.
Loser. Go ahead.
I can't even.
Yes, John Cho's coming back. John Cho's the one who was connected with the witch, so they need a witch.
Zombie Andy.
They need to, yeah, Zombie Andy. Andy's coming back. They need a witch.
How was he connected to a witch?
He is. I think he's Bad Coven.
He had servitude under the witch, so if we're gonna say that he was Bad Coven, he may be. And I'm gonna say
servitude under. Oh yeah.
Yeah. People told me not to say Warlock. I'm gonna just say Warlock. Whatever.
I'm okay with Warlock.
Yeah.
I'm okay with warlocks.
Dealing with it.
We accept all people here.
It was
all races, creeds, and warlocks.
I get Twitter chains from American Horror Story, and they say a warlock is a very negative term for a male user of witchcraft. But
Isn't
so
that
are
what
they?
they?
What? So are they a wizard?
You're a
I
wizard,
guess.
Harry.
Make,
You're a wizard,
make your
Harry.
point. We're gonna
So
get kicked out of
we're
this.
I'm in control
studio.
here. I'm engineering. We can go as long as we want. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna see John Cho be the one that they go to. They're gonna find out that he's missing. They're gonna be like, okay, well, where is this guy? We're gonna see that come about. We might see the. I'm gonna cancel my thought process there. I think Headless is getting his head back next episode.
He's at least he's trying. It's taken right from the first Terminator movie when Terminator comes to the police station and starts mowing people down trying to get what he wants.
I think he can try to get his head though, but his head seems to be like, for him, a MacGuffin.
Yeah,
like,
it is the MacGuffin.
It's the MacGuffin for him.
For those of you at home who don't know what a MacGuffin is, when there's a movie or a TV show and they're always talking about that thing that they need to get because it's the most important thing and all of the blah, 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 and it's all about finding the thing is a MacGuffin. It's a movie term.
Okay, I think he gets his head back next episode.
Okay.
I don't think he does.
Let him finish his point, Jackie.
Here, I'm going to count to 1, 2, 3, Jackie B. And he gets his head back.
Punjar.
He gets his head back, but they have it sealed in a jar. The jar is, like our Punjar, hermetically sealed with witchcraft things that won't let death itself open.
Yeah, the same kind of like spells that were on Ichabod's resting place. All those jars burst
So I
open.
think we're going to have Death get his head back, but at the same time, this is where we're going to see Bad Coven really come into play because they have to break the spell to actually
he won't be
open
able to open it.
Exactly. So now that Death is more powerful, he is not yet in. He's not at his. This ain't even my final form, bro. Like that's like Death.
You're really pulling Dragon Ball Z into this?
The reason I don't think he ever gets his head, though, the reason I think it's a MacGuffin is because you can't have Sleepy Hollow without a Headless Horseman. It's just got to be something that you eternally look for that's not really, it's not even important to him. He has so much power. Why does he need a head?
He needs a head because he cannot raise the other horsemen without it. It's the source of his power.
He can't raise his
It was
head up
established.
high.
It was totally established earlier in the season. Okay, we got to say goodbyes. Jackie, where can the people find you?
At 123 Jackie_B on Twitter and at 123 Jackie B, all one thing on Instagram.
Okay, Stephen Lemieux, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Stephen Lemieux, STEPHENLEMIEUX, all one word. Make sure you follow me. Make sure you follow 123 Jackie B, because if you're not, you're never going to get this Punjar money that I'm really just kind of throwing in at this point.
He's throwing our money away.
I'm throwing it away.
You don't just have to follow. Oh, yeah, and where else can they find you?
They got to follow you, Matt, is what I was going to say.
Yeah, you got to follow all three of us, so be sure to follow at Matt Lieberman. That's MATTLIEBERMAN. You can also find me here on AfterBuzz TV on the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Sons of Anarchy after shows, and potentially another one that we're going to be able to announce soon, I hope, a very exciting cult show that a lot of people have been asking for. I can neither confirm nor deny, but hopefully we'll be able to announce next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will be back next week, and we'll tweet out when the Orlando interview is back online. You're the greatest.
And rate us on iTunes.
Rate us on iTunes.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Good
Good night, sleepyheads.